Marcus Vega doesn't speak Spanish. Chapter 2. Crosswalks. When school is over, my 4 regulars plus the 2 new kids are waiting anxiously by the school entrance. They see me coming and light up with excitement. They know walking with me is saving them from a lot of torment. "Let's go," I say. They all gather around and walk with me. They look like those ducklings from the picture book I used to read to my brother when he was little. First, I drop off the curly-haired kid whose glasses are way too big for his face. They look like giant see-through dinner plates sitting on his nose. He's about a foot shorter than I am and as scrawny as a broomstick. As we approach his house, the kid high-fives the others. He turns to me and waves. "Thanks, Marcus," he says as his front gate opens and he walks inside. The gate closes and I continue to walk down the sidewalk. The other kids are bouncing around me like remoras swimming under a great white. Occasionally they spot a fresh patch of snow, scoop some of it, and toss it at each other. They're careful not to hit me and never walk too far behind. When we reach the second kid's house, he runs inside without saying goodbye. He knocks on the front door and his nanny opens it. She's got a baby in her arms. She pats the kid on the shoulder and ushers him inside. Then she waves at me and I nod. 3 more kids to drop off, and then I'll walk back to the school library to finish my homework and wait for my brother. "Hey, Marcus," one of the new kids says, "I used the map on my phone to find out exactly where Alex lives." "Who?" I ask, not slowing my pace. "Alex," he says, catching up and wagging his phone at me. "We procured your services earlier today." I stop. The kid shows me his phone. He's mapped out walking directions to the other kid's house. It's about a half a mile away according to the map. I speed up and turn down a side street. The shuffling behind me tells me the kids are surprised by the sudden turn. Marcus?" I keep walking. "What?" That's the way to Cherry Hill Park," the kid says. "So?" I tell him. "So, that's where Stephen Hobart hangs out. His house is right next to it." "So?" He says, trying to keep up, "I just thought, because, we're trying to avoid..." "We're not trying to avoid anything. It's a shortcut." It'll take an extra 20 minutes if we follow the phone route, and another 10 to drop off the last kid, then another 10 minutes to walk back to the school library. That only gives me an hour to do my homework. My brother is done with therapy at 5. If I'm back later than 5, he starts to get nervous, and his occupational therapist, Grace, has other patients to see. I continue down the road toward Cherry Hill Park. It sounds like the kids are slowing their steps. I can tell by the way they're moving behind me that they're watching the park for Stephen and his crew. I walk past the snow-covered trees on the corner of the sidewalk. One of the kids rushes over to me and practically hugs my leg. He does, and we keep walking. I can't blame them for wanting to stay clear of a punk like Stephen. He knows how to put a spotlight on the things kids worry most about themselves. At lunch, I hear him make comments about a kid's lisp, or say a boy will probably work at a gas station because he can't spell, or make fun of a kid's acne by calling her crater face. He makes fun of kids who have outdated clothes and phones, and if a kid cries or threatens to tell on him, he says he's only joking and invites them to hang out. Most kids just try to stay away, but that doesn't always work. These aren't really things that teachers notice. Teachers don't know that he makes it a point to pick on the younger kids walking home. He doesn't take their money and usually doesn't shove them, but he ridicules them. Sometimes that hurts more. Sometimes that hurts longer. I don't say anything the rest of the way. I drop the other 2 kids off and head down North Cherry Hill Drive to the final kid's house. "I'm just up ahead here," he says, pointing to a 2-story building close to Main Street. "That's your house?" I ask him. "Nah, that's where my mom works," he says. "She's a tax attorney." "I thought you wanted me to take you home." "It'll save you some time if I just go there. You have to get back to school to pick up your brother, right?" He points down the street. I nod. "I've seen you guys walking home together," he says. "You live close by?" I nod again. I'm kind of shocked he knows this. "Maybe we can hang out, the 3 of us, like a play date or something." "I don't do play dates." Right. Well, thanks for walking me," he says. You can pay me half then, for walking you halfway. Don't worry about it, he says. If I drop you off here, it's half. No free money. He agrees. He starts to leave, but before he goes inside, I stop him. Hey. He turns to face me. What's your name? I ask him. He looks around as if I was speaking to someone else. Danny, he says. It's Danny. I nod and take off. I finish my homework at 4:55. I leave my office in the library and walk out to the reception area. Miss Mary, the librarian, waves at me and I nod at her. She smiles with her whole face. It's the kind of smile that makes you smile back, even if you weren't in the mood before. She asks me if I was able to finish everything. Yes, thank you. I'm glad, she says. Hey, Marcus. I stop and wait. How's your brother doing? Good, I say. How's he adjusting to life in middle school? Seems to like it, I say. I think. Good. If you need anything, you know I'm here, she says. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night, I tell her. I walk to my locker and grab my things. My brother's therapist has an office next to the principal's. From behind me, a voice booms in my ear. Hi, Marcus! It's my brother Charlie. Hey, buddy, I say, patting him on the shoulder. I was just coming to get you. How was therapy? Good. Smile! You promised. I do my best. No, this is a smile. See? He grins and reveals a row of crooked teeth. He squeezes his eyes shut, causing his glasses to slide down the bridge of his nose. His brown top hat almost falls off his head. He snags it before it does and places it carefully back on. This hat is basically part of my brother's school uniform. It's a replica Willy Wonka hat from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the one starring Gene Wilder. He loves that movie. Try again, he says. I curl my lips higher. Better, he says, and hugs me. Ready to go home? Oh, yeah! I finish putting my books away and close my locker. Charlie pats me on the forearm and walks with me down the halls. He's about a foot shorter than I am. He smiles at the few students left in school as we pass them. He knows kids' names and makes a point to call out to them. Hey, Tom, what's up, man? Hey, Charlie, not much, thanks. He shakes Tom's hand and smiles brightly. Then he goes to another kid and waves. Hey, Christy, cool shirt, heart emoji. I have the sunglasses one. I am slick, he says, and mimics slicking back his hair. He laughs, and Christy responds with an awkward grin. Dude, don't say stuff like that, I tell him, moving him along. Why not? I do. I am slick. Ha! You're ridiculous. My brother keeps high-fiving students as we head outside. They return the high fives, but don't really look at him or me for too long. Kids just prefer not to pay attention to us unless they have to. It took a lot to get my brother into Montgomery Middle. There were parents who weren't thrilled about having a kid with Down syndrome in classes with other kids. Stephen's mom seemed to be the loudest opponent. In the end, a large national association stepped in and put pressure on the school district to let him attend. There was already a special education class in the school, but Charlie became the first kid with Down syndrome to attend Montgomery Middle. Principal Jenkins sent a letter home to every student's family saying it was the right of all children to receive a public education. My brother is in a few general education classes like PE and art and stuff, and he spends the rest of the school day in a special education classes with kids who have different kinds of learning disabilities. He sees a speech therapist 3 times a week and an occupational therapist 2 times a week. I do most of my homework during his sessions. This way, Charlie says, leading us home. My brother never forgets a place after he's been there once. He never gets lost. Man, we've walked this route 1,000 times. I know that. Just checking, he looks at his watch. You're going slow. No, I'm not, I tell him. Hey, man, why don't you take off the Wonka hat and put your beanie on? It's getting cold. No, I want this hat because you love Willy Wonka. Yes! He starts singing as we walk. Don't sing it so fast, I tell him, tying a scarf around his neck. I can't understand the lyrics when you do that. He smiles and closes his eyes while he sings, stretching his arms wide and twirling around. Man, you're going to get run over by a car. Open your eyes. He stops and looks at me. His glasses have slipped to the bridge of his nose again. He pokes my chest and leans so close that I could see his breath in the cold air. You are not fun. I smack the top hat down and cover his eyes. You're no fun, I tell him. No, you are no fun, he says, lifting the hat back onto his head. Man, fix your glasses. You look like a mad scientist. He cracks up. Then he pushes his glasses back into place and makes a wacky face. I put my arm around his shoulders, and he puts his arm around my waist. We cross the large intersection, and the neighborhood starts to change. The houses get smaller, closer together. We live on the corner in a little brown house that's about 5 blocks from the train station and 45 minutes from the big city. It was my grandparents' house before they passed away. I take my brother's hand as we cross another street. Come on, buddy, I tell him. The last rays of sun disappear behind us as we walk on this chilly evening.